All right. Well, as I basically kind of expected, and anybody with half a brain would have expected, the Giants going to lose and fall to 2-9. Before I get into this, please, if you're here, probably means you want to see me yell and scream and go off on this awful, awful team that we have, or at least the awful record that reflects it. So, before I go into this, like, comment, subscribe, whatever. Follow me on Twitter, man. I can't even feign anger here. Giants are playing their third string quarterback. Again, as I mentioned before, Tyrone Tracy played really well. He really did. I mean, the heart of the team, and it's one of those where I really look at it and I'm like, wow. If and hopefully when Cam Scatterboo comes back healthy, Giants have a really, really nice, solid future of running back position. And I would still expect them to add a third running back somewhere in the draft because we all know Eric Gray doesn't exist on this team anymore. Turbo Miller is a practice squad merchant and a preseason screen, receiver. He's never going to do anything on this team. Clearly, they don't think anything of him. So there's that. Theo Johnson had a couple good catches today and kind of flashes what I expected him to be. I still have a lot of hope for Theo, and obviously this was with Jameis Winston, so the targets are down. Jackson loves to throw to tight ends a little bit more than the Jameis does. Thought Wandale was going to have 100 yards receiving because I just kind of thought that since he was on the team all year and he would have had a rapport with Jameis, that would have been his go-to guy. But Wandale, had a couple drops and the body catches and stuff. And again, I'm not going to feign anger here. I hate drops. I really do. I hate body catches. I really do. Whatever, man. Wandale makes more plays than he doesn't, so whatever. Again, make the catch the ball, Wandale. But I'm not going to get mad. The upside in the offense really was Isaiah Hodgins coming right back and not being allowed to wear number 18, but he wears 89, and he immediately catches 5 or 6 passes, 50 yards. Every single thing that touched his hands, save for the exception, I think the last ball that got thrown his way was deflected. So, and he even got up kind of dejected, and you can see that he's like, fuck. But Isaiah Hodgins immediately had a spark to this offense, and really, you just wonder why the hell wasn't he on the team all year, especially if you want to say, oh, well, we had X and X. Okay. Malik Neighbors tore his ACL week 4. It's now week 11. What are we doing? We wasted time with elevations of Little Jordan Humphrey and what's his name, Ray McLeod, and come on, Jalen Hyatt's been on the offense, and we had Bo Collins. What are we doing? Isaiah Hodgins clearly is the best outside receiver we have on this team because Malik Neighbors is hurt. Darius Slayton is inconsistent as all get out. And again, if you've watched any of my videos before, go back and watch them. I hate this dude. Daniel Bellinger had a drop, and with the drop, man, it was a terrible throw. But again, I always say if the ball hits your hands, catch it. And I even said, why are we the only team in the NFL, seemingly, that when a ball or a play or our call is questionable, we're just nonchalant, hanging out. Oh, we'll get to the line and snap the ball when we're good and ready. And what always happens? The opposing team is so ready to challenge it and credit to the floor. But we're never prepared. We never seem like we know what we're trying to do and the best ways to try to really put this team in position. And I bring it up because I constantly hear these coaches talk out of their ass. Oh, smart, and we want to make sure that high IQ, and we want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And then Mike Kafka's talking about, being prepared and extra meeting time and everything leading up into this game. But it's like, how are we really prepared? What did we do all week? What did we do in practice? Where are the simulation? Let's practice this and get it down so that way once the game comes, we're all on the same page. We know what the hell is going on. I can't tell. It never looks like that. I don't remember the last time I watched the Giants game in about 8 years where I thought, wow, this coaching staff has a real plan and they really are dialed into what's going on. But instead, over the years, I get coaches who, like Kafka did earlier today, you're challenging a Josh Jacobs run where he's clearly in bounds. So who in your coaching staff is calling down and telling you that's a good challenge? Either somebody is doing that and you're listening, or you're not listening at all, and you thought that you know better. Well, you don't, and that's why you're an interim. I don't want to go too hard on Kafka anyway, man, but it's like, I just get tired of watching talented players be put in positions to fail. And it happens on a weekly basis to the point where Jameis Winston goes down and gets the quarterback sneak. Did any of us really think we were winning this game up 20-19? I didn't. Which again is why I can't come on here and feign anger. I'm angry that we're 2-9. I see people on Twitter talking about, why do you want the Giants to win? Tank this. We have a quarterback that. Dude, look at me. I have a Giants poster in my bathroom right now. I'm in the process of moving, so fuck you. Giants hat, Giants jersey, an Odell jersey that's from 2014. So if you don't think that I have time and emotion and just love devoted and wrapped up in this team, you're out of your mind. We only get 17 of these because Lord knows we don't make the playoffs. So it's like, how could you not get emotionally invested and expect and hope for wins? I can't root for losses, man. I can't. It's easier after the fact, whenever I've kind of let this go and I've had time to really think about it. It's easier to, another loss. But at the same time, man, that's what Browns fans do. And no disrespect to Browns fans, it's not your fault, but the Browns and the Jets and the Lions historically, really before Dan Campbell and kind of, most of the Stafford era, and Jags and Titans, those are losing teams where they never win anything. There's never an expectation that's really with any logic other than just a little delusion on the fan base. And it just bothers me that this franchise that I've watched for so long, and I watched us win Super Bowls. I watched Eli Manning. I watched Jason Pierre-Paul. I watched Tom Coughlin. I watched Justin Tuck. And this is what we're doing now. Like, we just lose games, and then people try to come up with ways to kind of excuse it, and I can't. Like, I watch these games, man, and I'm just so dejected. To watch our players play their heart out. I mentioned Tyrod Tracy. Bro, he was balling today, catch after catch, tough catch, tough run, just fighting for yards, refusing to quit. Andrew Thomas, and Jermaine Illuminor completely kept Jameis Winston clean for the most part. That's a great Green Bay front seven. And Jameis got sacked, once, twice? And I think one of them was the last play of the game where really he's trying to buy time in the pocket and Micah gets him at the end. He had another sack where Wan'Dale runs wide open on a drag route and it was in the red zone. It was fourth down. I don't know why you don't throw the ball, but even then, the sack comes because Jameis holds the ball and can't make a decision fast enough. And I'm not shitting on Jameis. He's a third string, really a second string quarterback at this point. He's not our starter. He was the first overall pick, 12 years ago? Come on. Not really mad at him. It's just, it is, man. It's just so frustrating to watch the same shit. And then even the interception that was actually caught, because Jameis should have had 7 interceptions today. Guess who? Jalen Hyatt runs a lazy corner route, and the corner just gets to easily catch the ball and come down and think he's a superstar. And shout out to the corner for catching it, bro. But it's just, this team is just so much better than given credit for. And again, I don't want to do a shoulda, coulda, woulda and everything, but I just look back and this season is just completely lost. And we should be a 5-6 football team right now, with our starting quarterback coming back next week against Detroit. And Detroit's going to be a hard game. We're probably going to lose again. But if we're 5-6 and the players have seen, hey, we've played well enough to win a couple games, not just 2, well, you're going to get more effort. You're going to get more inspired play. Because I'm here to tell you, I thought you got inspired play today. But how long is that going to last after the coach is fired? I mean, most teams that fire their coach, they win games like this, but we don't. Of course, we have a flag on the end of the halftime, towards the end of halftime, where we're up 14-3. But of course, there's a flag, so of course we now have a 58-yard field goal and it's missed and it's 13-13. Well, you tell me, how doesn't that add up? And don't you know that every time the Giants play a game like that, you guys always know those points come back to haunt us. We're never in a position through coaching or whatever you want to say. We're never in the spot where we can overcome that. Ever. We're the team where if it happens to us, you know it's going to linger and it always comes back to bite us in the ass. When we win games like we beat the Chargers or we beat Philly at home, our only wins are at home either. But we only win games when we're pretty disciplined. Go figure. And so again, I'm watching a game where Jordan Love played well. His receivers dropped several passes, and yet they're able to overcome it. Their defense dropped several interceptions. Again, Jameis is a merchant at that. And they overcome it. Their run defense was horrible. We ran all over them. Even Drew Brees was saying there's no run defense being had right now. The Giants are getting whatever they want, and we still lose games. We miss tackles. We're undisciplined. We don't intercept passes that come our way. We're not opportunistic. And if you want to say, well, John, you said about the fumble that Flanagan Flowers held. Who cares? That's what you guys tell me. You know, when I try to bring that stuff up and I'm like, hey, this, that, and the other thing, people just say, who cares? So who cares? You know? It's all forgotten about unless you're a Giants fan and you watch those games and it means something to you. Other than that, nobody else cares. But I'm supposed to care about Shane Bowen's feelings when our offense is consistently moving the ball against any defense, basically, except for Washington this year. Our offense moves the ball. Our offense puts us in a position to be competitive. Our offense puts us in a position where our defense isn't on the field for 30 minutes, straight. And what happens? We go down and score, and the defense gives it up like a little whore. It's just... And again, this is a Devin Singletary game where Devin Singletary balled out too. Our run game was awesome, man. Devin Singletary with 2 hard-fought touchdowns. Jameis Winston, another great drive, touchdown. And what happens? The defense gives it right up. It doesn't matter, man. And people are like, well, how could you want Bowen fired now? Because who's going to coach the team? Anybody. I don't care. This team is 2-9, bro. What are we holding on to? Certainly not a defensive coordinator that inspires anything. This defensive coordinator couldn't inspire me to fart. But he farts on the entire franchise week after week after week after week with atrocious defensive schemes like this to the point where, again, our 3rd overall pick didn't see the field for the first 10 minutes. There's no excuse for it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, bro. There's just not. And on top of that, I hate to pick on him. I don't. But we have players that are so soft, like Paulson Adebo, where they're not even willing to try to grind it out for their teammates. Tyler Nubin. I don't know how severe that injury is, so maybe let me chill on that one. But I'm just so tired of the same old with the same old, suspects. Deonte Banks, terrible effort. Deonte Banks getting beat over the middle. Deonte Banks missing tackles. Deonte Banks looking like he could care less. Why does it seem like I care more about playing football and trying to play defense and stopping opposing offenses than Deonte Banks does, who makes millions more than me? And then whenever these guys make one little play, they get up and they shake their head and they act like they're tough. How about you show how tough you are on a consistent basis on the field? How about you show how tough you are by battling through it for your teammates? How about you show how tough you are by bringing guys down? How about you gang tackle? How about you catch the ball? How about you pass block well? How about you give guys a chance? How about you punt the ball well, Jamin Gillian, instead of shanking it? But in the process, I get to watch Green Bay's punter, who's the Irish Hammer, ironically enough, Mr. Scottish Hammer. I watch him have 2 punts consecutively of over 60 yards that completely nuked the Giants' ability to get in field goal range to try to score off of it. But I've got to continuously watch pathetic special teams from our punter and kickers, man. And it always costs us. Christian Watson's a good player, man, and I'm not taking anything from him, but he looked like Randy Moss out there, and I'm just so damn tired of watching the same old shit, and I'm really hoping that if you're still here, it means you're feeling my pain, man, because this is just, it's a weekly basis, and an idiot like me, a glutton for punishment like me, I can't look away because I love this team and I fell in love with it at a young age. And I'm going to continuously support this team, and I'm going to continuously put on my clown costume. I might even break out a brown paper bag for you guys. But I'm going to continuously watch this, and everybody who knows and who knows of me, like when they see the Giants, like constantly people are like, oh, John, when I see the Giants win, like I think of you and I think about how happy you must be. Yeah, I am. Because I love this team, and it's literally a part of my blood. Like, I bleed this team. There's not a sports team that I follow that I love more than this Giants team. I'm a Knicks fan, I'm an LSU fan, and I root for the Yankees. The Yankees were in the World Series the other year. It's not more important to me than the Giants being in a playoff game. The Knicks were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and I loved it, and I cried tears of joy when we beat Boston. It was beautiful. But getting there doesn't compare to the idea of the Giants back in the NFC Championship game again. It just doesn't, because it's just not, there's levels to it. And I love this Giants team, and, I don't want to say anything bad about John Mara either because he's with cancer, but it's like, bro, John Mara, if you love this team and you care about what your father thought, you hand this team over to somebody else who's able to just manage it better. And speaking of management, I'm at a point now where, again, I was a Brian Dable supporter, Joe Shane supporter, and I'm starting to get to a point where I'm more and more okay with firing Joe Shane. Because essentially, outside of 2022, not essentially, this team hasn't won a playoff game or made the playoffs. No, that's not true. They haven't won a playoff game since we won the Super Bowl. Because we had the boat trip in 2016 where we go down to Green Bay and we absolutely embarrass ourselves. We waste an Eli Manning game where he was just dot city. Drop passes by my guy. Drop passes by Sterling Shepard. And it's just a joke. I was a teenager the last time this team won a Super Bowl. I really don't want to have to be one of these old heads, in my 50s or 60s talking about the good old days when I was a teenager. But which with each passing year, it just starts to feel like, man, are we really going there? Like, we're not the Jets or anything, but it's like, man, because we at least know how to draft a quarterback every once in a while from Ole Miss. I mean, clearly drafting Ole Miss quarterbacks is what the Giants have to do to get an elite quarterback or franchise quarterback, and I'm fine with it. But, we draft superstar receivers from LSU very well, Odell, Malik. Even Ruben Randall, had a couple, nice positive seasons, but the guy was just super inconsistent. But the point is, like, we draft players well enough. We don't have great draft classes, and we've had way too many draft classes where we have absolute bums like 2021. But it just doesn't excuse the fact, man, that we're having another year where we're 2-8, and we're essentially all looking forward to mock drafts and who we might draft, what position group do we think is most beneficial, and I'm sure I'll make videos getting into all that, man, but it's just another frustrating loss, and Giants go to 2-9, I'll be back more, and, again, if you're still here, man, it means you enjoy my misery at some level, and maybe you totally empathize and can agree with me. But like, comment, subscribe, man, and I'll be back with more. Appreciate it.